This is a review of the 4 new twisty puzzles that I have gotten recently. These first 3 are from Pyraminx, and this one is from Rubik's. And I'll go through each of them individually in this order. This is a floppy cube. It costs $16, and basically what it is it's a 3x3x1 Rubik's cube, and you can do half turns on all of these edges, like that. The feel of this puzzle, I think, is a bit like comparing a very good DIY and a Rubik's Cube filled with petroleum jelly or Vaseline. It's not really clicky, it just kind of is oozy past it. It just kind of... I don't really know how to describe it. But why it does this is because of the center caps. I don't know if you can see it, but they actually bend as the layer is turning. And when I first got this, as you can see if you watched my unboxing video, I thought the plastic had melted and it was still kind of bending. So I let it cool down and actually put it in the freezer at one point. But it turns out it's just supposed to bend that way. The color scheme on this cube is a bit weird. It has a red opposite yellow, gray opposite a darker gray, and a pale green opposite a light blue, which I don't know anybody who uses that color scheme. And it's not meant for standard stickers either. It's kind of like Cubesmith's vinyl. So that's the floppy cube. This is the Skewb. It costs $22, and it's really a very unusual puzzle. It felt kind of like the square one when I first turned it. It actually turns around the corners, as you can see there. So when I do one turn, it moves 3 corners, 3 centers, and rotates 1 corner. As you could probably hear as I turned it, the Skewb has a ball bearing mechanism, and it clicks 3 times as you turn it. I don't know if I like this mechanism or not, but I think that it fits the Skewb better than it would most other twisty puzzles. And actually, the stickers on the Skewb are different than this. They're what I would call the Pyraminx stickers, and they're kind of textured, and they have a grain to them, like this is smooth and this is more textured. So that's kind of nice. The color scheme is a bit odd on this cube as well. As you can see, we have blue opposite green, orange opposite red, and yellow opposite a lighter orange. So it's not even the same as this one. And it's almost the same as the Western color scheme except for this orange. And this is the Pyraminx. Technically it's the Pyraminx 2. It costs $16 as well. Originally it came with this sticker on it, and I saved it so you could see it. Pyraminx Challenge. But I took it off because it began to peel off of this sticker, because somehow it wasn't, because it was actually just a sticker on top of the other stickers. The Pyraminx has the same stickers as the Skewb, and the color scheme is yellow, blue, green, and orange. The Pyraminx also has a ball bearing mechanism, although it is very different from the Skewb's. You hear one click as you go away from it. It clicks in the middle, you can see the ball even, and then it clicks as you go towards it again. This ball bearing mechanism is also suited for the Pyraminx, because it doesn't work like most other twisty puzzles like the Rubik's Cube and the Pyraminx. It's hard to describe exactly why, but I think that if the ball bearing mechanism wasn't there, then you would have more of a problem with it being out of alignment, such as being right here or right here. And this is my final puzzle, which is a Rubik's brand DIY. Now this cube has a very bad reputation, but despite of that, it has become my main speed cube, and I'll tell you why in a moment, but first I'll give you an overview of the cube. It cost me $10.99, and it came with these PVC stickers, and they're very thin, and they begin to break soon, even though it's not really peeling. It also came with some Skewb lube, but I think I prefer the CRC silicone better. Now, the reason that I think this Skewb has a bad reputation is for two reasons. And mainly it's in comparison to a DIY such as this one, a cube-free one. And I'll explain to you why. The first complaint is just that it's a Rubik's brand cube. The second is that it doesn't cut corners well. And the third is that it's flimsy. Now I'm going to respond to each one of these. Saying that it's bad just because it's a Rubik's brand cube is a very stereotypical thing to say. And you shouldn't, because that's assuming things that you shouldn't. Second complaint is that it doesn't have corner cutting abilities. And that's partially right. Its corner cutting is a bit impaired compared to the DIYs. However, what it lacks in corner cutting, it makes up for in gliding. This cube is incredible at gliding. You hardly have to flick it at all, while on most of my DIYs, it takes more effort to turn than you really should have to use. And so I think that's a nice trade-off. The third complaint is that it's flimsy, and this cube does have a little bit less of a solid feel than the DIY. The DIY feels very solid, and this one doesn't feel as solid. However, I think that this is a little nice, because it again takes less effort to turn, and also it's quite a bit lighter. So because of its trade-off, I think that depending on which method you use, and your cubing style in general, you should determine between a DIY and a Rubik's brand DIY. Because if you use a method like MGLS, where you use a lot of 2-gen algorithms that are very finger tricky, then you need a Rubik's DIY. But if you use a method like Petrus, where you have a lot of not so finger tricky moves, and you need to do them all over the cube at the same time, then you should use a DIY because of its corner cutting abilities. One thing that I should mention about the Rubik's brand DIY, it has a very serious problem with the center caps falling out. I had to super glue them in to keep them in place. I mean, if you did not glue them, they would not stay in for one turn. They would all just flop out if they went in at all. But once you glue them in, they stay in for quite a while. Another thing that I have noticed in the Rubik's brand cube is that the sides naturally become looser, or so it seems. I'm not entirely sure why it does this, but I have noticed that it hasn't gone to the point where it isn't a good cube anymore. It's actually gotten a little bit better. So it might be like a self-tightening DIY, where it loosens itself to the point where it's good, which is a great thing. So overall, I would recommend all of these cubes to buy, except for maybe this one, because it isn't official, and it's not really a very fun cube to solve. It's more of one that you show off to people. But besides that, these are all good for speed solving. And to finish off the review, I'll be doing a speed solve of all of these three, except for the Rubik's DIY, because I'm going to make a separate video just for that. Partially because it's going to be with my new method, MGLS, so it deserves its own video.